Book and Music Festival was sort of interesting because back in October of 2008, I was meeting with Roger Jelinek to see if he'd be interested in a book I was writing. And while we were talking about the book, I mentioned this film I was working on, and he was very, very interested. So when he found out that I was done, he requested a copy. And he and several of the board members absolutely loved it, and they just really wanted to put it in the festival. The story starts off in Hawaii, an old man sitting around the fire telling this story to the younger generations of how they came there. And then the story flashes back many years to Marquesas, and there was a terrible battle and how they were forced to leave, and they sailed away and what provisions they took, and how they had to sail through seas they'd never seen before, through doldrums where there were no winds, through storms where there was no food, no rain, and finally the arrival at Hawaii and how they managed to set up a new life from only the things they brought with them. And then the story concludes with the narrator around the group in the fire again. Some of the most interesting responses that I've had to the film were how educational it was, because it's very, even though it is a fiction, like the actual circumstances of how the Hawaiians came here are unknown. We don't know why they came or where they actually landed, and we know a rough period of time somewhere between the 3rd and 5th century, but the circumstances were unknown, but we know they came, and this story takes the best guess at how they did it, and most people find the educational value to be its most appealing aspect. Working with Herb was a very educational experience because he is very exacting in historical detail. There was only 50 paintings in the original book, and I needed many more, so I started borrowing paintings that he had done, before and after. And sometimes I'd show him rough cuts, and I'd say, "What do you think about this?" And he'd look at it and say, "The bow is completely wrong there." I was like, "The bow?" And he's like, "Yeah, in that period of time the bow would have been curved. This is a 17th century bow. You can see that there's an actual boom on the sail that they wouldn't have had at that time, so you need to get rid of that." So I was like, okay. So then I had to go through and fix the images up to make the canoes more traditional to Marquesas in the 5th century. So he was very exacting on details. Other than the visual things, he was very easy to work with. He loved the music when I first showed it to him. The sound design, he just loved it right away. And some of the writing, he was, in the very beginning, he was very strict that the writing need to stay the same. But as the film went along and he started to see it put together, he was like, "Oh, okay, maybe we can change that line or move that around." And that's basically how the film came.